Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today I am sharing with you 3 really easy recipes that would be perfect for game day food, for a party food, a holiday gathering, a birthday party, really any type of thing like that. A couple of these are great in the crock pot, so I'm kind of combining Crocktober, football season, all the things in one video. These recipes are super easy and really good, so let's get started. So this first recipe is a really easy queso dip, perfect for game day or a party, whether it's a holiday party or New Year's party or just a family gathering. Anyways, so this is really simple to do. The recipe calls for sausage. I used ground beef, and you can use ground beef. I just added in a couple extra seasonings. So I cooked up my ground beef and 1 small onion diced until the ground beef is fully cooked, and then added in some cumin, a half teaspoon of cumin like the recipe called for. And then I added in basil and oregano and red pepper flakes, like I said, just because I used ground beef instead of sausage, and I just wanted to add a little bit of extra flavor. So then you're gonna add in 2 tablespoons of flour and mix that around and cook that for about 2 to 3 minutes, continuously stirring so that the flour gets incorporated and gets cooked down, and so that nothing sticks. And once you have your flour fully incorporated, you're going to add in 1 can of evaporated milk, and you're going to get that heated up to a light boil, reduce the heat, and simmer for 2 to 3 minutes. So now the recipe says to add in a can of diced tomatoes with chilies and some diced jalapenos, but I'm just adding in 1 can of Rotel. So you could do what the recipe calls or do what I did. And then you're going to add in 2 ounces of cream cheese, and you're just going to incorporate that. I did let mine soften a little bit just to make it a little bit easier, but it will eventually break down and melt and incorporate just fine. And then the recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of hot sauce. I'm using sriracha. Once again, I use recipes kind of as a guide and not fully necessarily following it to the T, but I will have the original recipe linked for you if you want to go that route. And then you're going to also add in, once that is all heated through and the cream cheese is melted, you're going to stir in a couple cups of cheddar cheese. I suppose you could use a different kind of cheese, but the recipe calls for cheddar, and that's always my cheese of choice. So I do think that after you added the evaporated milk and brought that to a boil, that you could probably transfer this to a crock pot and add the rest of the recipe or rest of the ingredients. But I just did the whole thing on the stove and then added it to the crock pot. So you're just going to continue to heat that through till the shredded cheddar cheese is fully incorporated. And then the recipe suggests garnishing with some pico de gallo. I just added this to my crock pot and added in some diced tomatoes on top, just to make it look pretty. And I like serving dips like this in a crock pot because then you can just keep them on low or keep warm based on your crock pot settings. And then that is just perfect when you're, serving people. It just kind of stays warm as people help themselves. And you're just going to serve this along some tortilla chips. Our favorite are the blue corn tortilla chips from Aldi, but obviously any tortilla chips would do. This was really easy and very delicious. And most of these ingredients are things that I always have on hand, so I can easily whip them up at any time. All right guys, so this is a super easy dump and go crock pot recipe that is great for parties, gatherings, game days, whatever. Now I'm cutting this recipe in half because I'm actually not making this to bring it anywhere. It's just going to be my husband and I eating it, so I'm just cutting it in half, but I'll have the original recipe linked below for you. So I have got almost 1 pound of kielbasa that I just sliced up. I did grease the crock pot, not sure if it's totally necessary. We're gonna add in a 1/2 cup of applesauce. So the recipe calls for 3/4 cup of brown sugar, and I'm gonna half that, using up a bag here, which means I'm gonna do, I don't know exactly what, 1/2 of a cup, or half of 3/4 of a cup, I don't know. 1/4 and a half of that. So Next, we've got, cleaning up my crock pot here, we're gonna add in 1/2 tablespoon of minced garlic and 1 tablespoon of mustard. And I know that this bottle is getting low. Let's see what we can do here. I feel like every time I do a recipe video lately, I'm like using up the end of something. All right, we're just gonna guesstimate this one here. I don't like to waste. I'm just gonna add in a little bit of Dijon mustard to finish that out. Now we're just gonna mix this up really well. We're gonna put the lid on, turn the crock pot on low for 6 hours, stirring occasionally, and that's all there is to it. And you can just serve them like you would, like the little weenie hot dogs, with toothpicks. All right, guys, so this next recipe is a dessert dip. It's chocolate chip cookie dough dip, and we've made this at least 3 times already, and it's always a huge hit. It's a very simple, and these are ingredients that I always have on hand, so I can always whip this up really easily for any reason, even if it's just for you and your family. But you're gonna take 1/2 cup of butter that's room temperature and 8 ounces of cream cheese room temperature and combine it really well. Mine weren't fully room temperature, so this took a little bit longer, but that's okay. You're just gonna mix that. You can probably use a stand mixer. I don't know, I don't have one. Hand mixer worked just fine. It was just a little bit of a challenge because I didn't let it get soft enough. Once that is well incorporated, you're going to add in 1/2 cup of light brown sugar, 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And you're gonna mix that really well, and then you're gonna add in, well, the recipe calls for 3/4 cup mini chocolate chips, and then some of them are supposed to be reserved for topping, but you know, can't go wrong with too many chocolate chips. So then you're gonna mix in the chocolate chips and transfer this to a serving bowl. I do recommend chilling this a little bit after you made it, since everything is room temperature while you're mixing it, but you don't want it cold. Like if it's in the refrigerator, pull it out a little bit before serving it, just because if it's too hard, it'll be hard to scoop it with whatever you're dipping it with. By the way, you can use vanilla wafers, you can use graham crackers, pretzels, like pretzel twists have been great with this. The sweet and salty combo is amazing. This dip is a must try. Well, that's gonna be it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe by hitting that subscribe button below and hit the notification bell next to it so you're sure to be notified the next time I upload a video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.